Let's start with dental health. Everybody knows that fluoride is supposed to help with prevent tooth decay. Is there any evidence that that is in fact true?
Well, even the proponents now admit that the major benefit of fluoride, if any exists, is topical. It works on the
Okay.
outside of the teeth, not from inside the body. And at that point, that should have been the end of fluoridation right there. If it
Hmm.
works topically, why on earth swallow it? Why on earth putting it in everybody's drinking water and forcing it on people that don't want it
Hmm.
and exposing tissues that can be harmed to it if you can simply go out, buy fluoridated toothpaste, brush it on the target organ, and then spit it out? That would make sense. That's what most countries do. And guess what? Most countries that don't fluoridate, their children have just as good, if not better, teeth than countries that do fluoridate, which are in the minority. In the minority. Very few countries actually fluoridate their water. Half the people that are drinking artificially fluoridated water live in North America. We're the odd ones out, really.
Why is that?
I think most civilized countries were not persuaded that we should force a medication on people via the water supply, and nor were many countries persuaded that all the health questions had been answered back in the 50s when they started this, and they haven't. They weren't answered in the 50s, and they still have not been answered today. And in fact, there are more questions about health today than there were 50 years ago.
You talk about it being a medication, a
Yes.
forced medication. In that respect, there's no control over any dosage or anything like that, no matter how big or small the person is.
It's a terrible medical practice for that reason. And in fact, the proof is in the pudding. You know, since fluoridation started in 1945, we in the United States, nor anywhere else in the world, has used the public water supply to deliver medicine. Now, we add a lot of chemicals to the water, but all those chemicals are added to protect the water, to purify the water, to make the water more palatable to drink. But fluoridation is the only time where we've used the water as a vehicle to deliver this medicine. There is not one single reaction, biological process in the body that requires fluoride. There's no evidence that it's a nutrient. And clearly, no other nutrient works on the outside of the body, on the outside of the skin or outside of the thing. So it's not a nutrient, and yet there's plenty of evidence to suggest that the fluoride ion is extremely active biologically and can damage tissues. And one they don't even deny is the teeth itself. So although the benefit is supposed to be topical, the damage that fluoride can cause to the teeth is systemic. It works on the inside. It interferes with the growing tooth cells and causes a condition called dental fluorosis, which is a mottling discoloration of the teeth, which starts with very small, in its very mild form, little streaks on the cusp of the teeth, and then it covers gradually more of the surface of the teeth through mild, through moderate. By the time you get to severe, you've got 100% of the tooth surface impacted. When they started fluoridation, they thought they could limit the number of kids with this condition to about 10%, and only in the very mild condition, which they thought that only dentists would recognize. That parents wouldn't see it, children wouldn't see it. But now the CDC has told the world in 2010 that 41% of American children aged 12 to 15 have some form of dental fluorosis, including 8.6% in the mild category, which is 50% of the surface impacted, and 3.6% either in the moderate or the severe, with 100% impacted. Now, we could argue about how serious that is in terms of the psychological damage it does to teenagers if they don't want to smile on their first date, or when they go to school and they get ribbed for having, the common concern that children have with dental fluorosis is other people think that they don't look after themselves. They're slobs. Well, we can argue about how significant that psychological damage is, but what they can't argue about is that that child that has dental fluorosis has been overexposed to fluoride during these years that the permanent teeth were erupting. You can't get dental fluorosis after the teeth have erupted. It's systemic, not topical. And my question is, and I think it should have been everybody's question, is it possible that you've got this agent that can damage the growing tooth cells without damaging the bone cells? After all, the teeth grow from the bone, the brain cells, and the other delicate tissues of the child's developing body. And the answer seems to be no. These, if you see dental fluorosis, it's highly likely that you're damaging the child's bones, and now more seriously the child's brain. And we now have actually 33 studies which have associated a lowering of IQ with exposure to fluoride at levels which are not so much greater than our kids right now are being exposed to.